Before we begin, I want you guys to check out the drop-down box below and go to the link where it says Bingo Baker and generate your bingo card so that you can play bingo while you watch today's review and discussion. All right? All right. Ready? Sandy says read, and welcome to the channel. You guys, today we are going to do a review and discussion. This is Stargate SG1, 4 Dragons. Let's get the glare. Is there a glare? Yeah, we'll get the glare off of it. All right, there you go. 4 Dragons by Diana Drew Botsford. Let me give you the specs. The specs are, this was published by Fandemonium Books. So yeah, it's like a fan fiction, but it's authorized fan fiction. Okay, it was published in 2010. It's 302 pages plus a 1-page coda. And let me read you the back cover. War Games. It was meant to be a soft mission, something to ease Dr. Daniel Jackson back into things after his time among the ancients. After all, what could possibly go wrong on a simple survey of ancient Chinese ruins? As it turns out, a whole lot. After accidentally activating a Goa'uld transport ring, Daniel finds himself the prisoner of Lord Yu, the capricious Goa'uld system lord. Meanwhile, SG-1's efforts to rescue their friend are hampered by a representative of the Chinese government with an agenda of his own to follow and a deep secret to hide. But Colonel Jack O'Neill is in no mood for delay. He'll go to any lengths to get Daniel back, even if it means ignoring protocol and taking matters into his own hands. Okay, the author, Diana, gave us a note at the beginning saying that this story takes place shortly after the events in Season 7's Orpheus. So we've got Daniel back from being ascended. He has descended. He's back. We've got him back at the SGC. And in this story, Jack is kind of hostile. Jack is portrayed a little rough, a little gruff at times, but he is trying to he's trying to get Daniel back into the fold in this story. He's trying to get Daniel to prove that he can still, fire a gun to protect himself. He can still defend himself when needed, and he can still do so effectively. So he takes Daniel off-world. The whole team, all 4 of them, they go off-world to this to a planet where some of the archaeologists, some of the other SG teams are looking at some Chinese artifacts that they found on this other planet. Okay, Daniel's real interested in those artifacts, of course. And Jack is like, no, I don't need you messing with those artifacts. I don't need you digging into this ancient language we're seeing around these artifacts. I need you to come with me and do some target practice. And Daniel's like, why? Why do I need to do this? And Jack's like, I don't need to give you a why. I just need you to follow orders. And so, of course, the 2 of them are butting heads, right? I mean, think about it. If you've watched Stargate SG1, you understand they're butting heads. This is not going well. So Daniel goes, they do some, target practice. He does very well with the target practice. And Jack is like throwing things at him, literally throwing things at him to, get him off guard, to distract him, to make him miss the target, that sort of thing. And Daniel gets peeved and, they do separate. He marches off and he goes off on his own. And he's, looking at some ruins on his own, and he accidentally activates the rings. You guys, why can I not remember what they're called? Brain fart happening. Accidentally activates the Goa'uld transport rings. You guys. Anyway, he accidentally activates these transport rings, and they do take him to another place where Lord Yu holds him prisoner. Well, while he's being, transported to this other place, some of Lord Yu's gliders come in, some of his fighters come in, some of his Jaffa come in and attack the SG teams that are looking at these ruins. Jack realizes, uh-oh, Daniel's gone again. And so we have to go on a rescue mission. So the rest of the book is the rescue mission, trying to get Daniel back. While Daniel is in Lord Yu's custody, Lord Yu is basically playing a game with him. Literally, they're playing a game. Like there's a board in front of them. They each have stones. Daniel has white stones. Lord Yu has black stones, and they're setting the stones on the board. And it's like a game of Go. All right, but they're playing this game, and it takes them 3 days to play this game. All right, and they're playing this, and Daniel doesn't want to play the game. He just wants to go home. Lord Yu is like, well, you must play this with me, or death. You must play this game with me. I want to ask you some questions while we're doing this. Lord Yu remembers Daniel appearing to him a couple of months ago. Well, a couple of months ago, Daniel was ascended. He was part of the ancients, right? And he was appearing to Lord Yu and telling him some things and giving him some logistical advice that he shouldn't have been doing. The ancients got mad, right? They kicked him out of their club. Well, Lord Yu is remembering that, and he's saying to Daniel, okay, when you were here before, you were giving me advice. Give me more advice. Tell me more about that. How did you get in here? How did you get out of here? How did you get away from me then? How did you just up and disappear? Well, Daniel doesn't remember that. Remember, when he came back from being ascended, his memories were wiped. He doesn't remember being in Lord Yu's presence a couple months ago. He doesn't remember that. So he's playing this game, and he's telling Lord Yu, I have no memory of that. I have no recollection. I don't know how I got in. I don't know how I got out. I can't help you there. And Lord Yu is like, well, you're going to have to remember, and you're going to have to tell me, or this game we're playing is going to be to the death, right? So high stakes for Daniel, high stakes. The rest of the team has to come in and get him. The rest of the team is hindered by, it mentions here, this Chinese ambassador. The Chinese ambassador is this Ambassador Huang. Well, Ambassador Huang looks very familiar to Teal'c. Looks very familiar to him, and Teal'c just can't figure out where he's seen him before. Well, it matters. Do you guys want me to spoil it for you? I'm not going to spoil it for you because this is a fun book. I don't want to spoil it for you. He looks familiar to Teal'c. There's a reason he looks familiar. There are some members of Lord Yu's forces that have been on Earth, right? They've been on Earth and they've intermingled with our society. Let's put it that way. And that's why Teal'c recognizes him. I'll give you that much. There's more to it than that, but I'll give you that much. Okay, so Ambassador Huang, obviously he is sus. We don't trust him, but he has arrived at Stargate Command, and he's making demands. He's like, okay, my government doesn't want you guys to take any weapons to rescue Daniel from Lord Yu, because we believe that Lord Yu is truly, the incarnation of our former emperor. And if you take weapons in and use weapons against him or any of his forces, it will be an affront to our government. It will be an affront to the Chinese people, and we will take that personally and be upset. We'll be pissed, and we will tell the world about the Stargate program. So they're holding it over Stargate Command's head. They're saying, basically, if you take weapons in there, if you harm any of Lord Yu, and they call him Emperor Yu because they think he really is their emperor from long ago. If you harm him or any of his people, we will tell Earth about this program. And there'll be chaos and mayhem in the streets, right? Okay. So they're holding it over SG Command's head. Yeah. There's a lot of high stakes on both sides, both over at the world where Lord Yu is holding Daniel and back at Stargate Command. Yeah. That's the synopsis. That's the plot. It's nice. It was nicely done. Let's see. Diana, our author, she captured a lot of good stuff in this book. And she did something that I very much appreciated. First of all, she captured Samantha Carter very well. She captured that character beautifully. In the series, Samantha Carter has to explain science-y stuff to the other members of her team, especially Jack. She has to explain it in rather simplistic terms, right? I mean, Jack is sort of the stand-in for the audience, right? Because your audience has to be the lowest common denominator of the viewers, right? Just has to be. So Jack has to be the person that represents your Walmart viewer, right? Your Simpsons viewer, right? So Samantha Carter has to explain things to Jack, and she does so in this book too. And you guys, I so appreciated that. I read this book Four Dragons. I read this book as a palate cleanser. I read this book because I wanted something fun, simple, easy, just enjoyable. I love Stargate. In case that's not coming through here, I love Stargate SG1. I don't know how many times I've watched the whole series all the way through. I knew I was going to enjoy this book, and I did. I picked this up because I'm reading another science fiction book right now, The Three-Body Problem, and it is a problem. I'm not enjoying it. The science in it is making me crazy. I don't like it when I have to stop reading a book to look something up and research how it works. Don't make me do that. If you're an author, don't make me do legwork to read your book. Don't do that. So this was beautiful. This was wonderful. And on page 233, we have an example of how to do your science fiction. This was lovely. Okay, so we have let's see, we have Colonel O'Neill and Samantha Carter. They're in the enemy's lair and it's hot. They're on their way to shut down this emitter that's emitting energy. Let me put it that way. They're on their way there and it's overly warm. And she explains to Jack why it's overly warm. There's deep science going on here, okay? But Samantha explains it. Listen to this. All right. What's the deal with the heat? He asked. It's actually not hot, sir. Like hell it isn't. Shrugging her vest back on, she touched the wall. It was cool to the touch. The colonel copied her motion. So now we're hallucinating a heat wave? Not hallucinating, absorbing. Photons are pure energy. They don't contain heat, at least not as we think of heat. She picked up her rifle and stood up. She was ready to head further down. We're sweating, Carter. The colonel took lead again, aiming his rifle's flashlight down the spiral staircase. It's hot, and all I can think about are tall, cold glasses of lemonade. Feels like heat to me, too much of it. Sam kept her light aimed toward the walls and ceilings, searching for any more of Yu's communication balls. So far, they'd seen none. That's because when an atom absorbs photonic energy, the result is heat. Our bodies are made up of atoms. Therefore, the more absorption, the more heat. I get it. He stopped and touched the wall again. I'm not a brainiac, Carter, but isn't everything made of atoms? That's the part I can't figure out, sir. By all rights, the wall should be, yes. So should our rifles, but they're not. She placed her palm on her holster. The modified Zat was warm. This doesn't make sense. Okay, so she's explaining to him, and we, the audience, are getting through their dialogue how this heat is being transferred, how the photons are working it. I mean, we're getting it. We're understanding the science. It's being explained to us through dialogue and action and motion. And it's, I don't want to say it's dumbed down, but it's made simple enough that your lowest common denominator reader is getting it and getting it easily. And it's fun. The science fiction is fun. I don't have to go look up photons and energy transfer and heat. I don't have to go look that up on a YouTube channel and figure out how it works. There you go. Yay. Not that I have anger issues over it. Let's see what else. Oh, and Diana, she also captured throughout the book, she has that dynamic between Carter and O'Neill. She has that dynamic captured nicely. There's just enough of the teasing nature between them for the shippers to be like, oh, yay, Sam and Jack. There's just enough of that in there to appease the shippers. And yes, I am a Jack and Sam shipper. There's just enough of that in there, but it's not overdone. It's not overbearing. I mean, they're not making googly eyes at each other, but there's enough in there for you to realize that the tension between them in the show, in the series, the tension is between them here too. And I like that. And let's see, page 300? Page 300, we have just a short example of it. Daniel turned back to the view out the window. From the sudden drop in conversation, he knew his two friends were having one of those 1,000 words in an instant's conversations, which required no talk, just an exchange of glances. They were good at those. And isn't that nice? Isn't that lovely? It's Jack and Sam just communicating between just communicating with a glance, communicating with a look. Diana captured that nicely too. Yeah, I can totally recommend, if you can get your hands on this, there is a shop, online shop, www.stargatenovels.com. This was published in 2010. It's been a little while, you guys, but there are more installments in the franchise. So there are more books. There are more books in different series. This particular book might not be available, but I can recommend it if you can find it on like eBay or Etsy, or Etsy would be eBay. If someone's selling this book out there, I recommend it. It was a nice, fun romp through the solar system, through the galaxy. It was great. I enjoyed it. And it fit a couple things for me. Not only did it cleanse the palate and give me good, fun science fiction you guys, I think that I split this between 2 evenings of reading before bedtime. So, it probably took me a couple hours, right? So a couple hours of good, fun reading, but it also took care of the dragon reading challenge, because it's, 4 dragons. I can put this on the dragon reading challenge. There were little dragon pieces that Daniel had in the game that they were playing. So that dragon came in, the Chinese dragon came in. There was dragony stuff, but it also fits the clock reading challenge because of the number 4. So this could take the place of the number 4 in the clock reading challenge for me this year. And I hadn't even thought of that. When I picked it up off the shelf, I was like, ooh, dragons, Stargate. Yes, feed my brain something fun, please. And it did. It took care of a lot of things for me this past week. I enjoyed it very much. You guys, thumbs up, all the thumbs up for good dragony clock reading challenge, fun science fiction. What this book does, what science fiction is supposed to do. It took me out of this world. It didn't make me work too hard. It was just good. Thumbs up for good science fiction. You guys, please subscribe to the channel. Please ask your friends to subscribe to the channel too. It is free. Hopefully you enjoyed playing bingo with me. Hopefully I said some of the words I usually say. Who even knows, right? At this point. Thanks so much for tuning in, you guys.